Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Bleakhaven. I am your host, the Birdman. With me today, I've got Mr. Stanley Bostwick again, Casandra Bostwick, Josh Bostwick, and we have Mr. Walden Wong with us once again. What would you guys like to talk about first?
I think we can jump in and start talking about the next book, the one Walden did a cover for.
Is that for issue number?
That'll be
three?
number 3.
Number 3, okay.
And
Okay.
that's the one Josh has been working on right now. So
And Josh has done all the interior work for issue number 1.
he did issue number 1, and then we have another artist who did number 2.
Okay.
So he did the pencil work and ink work on the Scullivan.
Scullivan's awesome.
We went through a lot of different designs and iterations before we got the one that stuck.
Yeah, I think that character is a really nice looking character. It's a really catchy looking character. Yeah. I don't know if that was an armor or if it's something he's wearing or if it's part of his body, but I just thought it's just so cool, all the textures on it.
He's supposed to have, the way Cade described him, is his skin is kind of like a leather protection, and then the bones like grown out.
Okay.
Like an exoskeleton.
It's like an exoskeleton.
Yeah. And originally with the design, I had imagined something more like grotesque when I came up with complete exoskeleton bone armor, but Josh...
That looked silly when I drew it.
Yeah, it didn't look as good, and we wanted it to be more simplified so we could draw it for the book.
So for Scullivan, I noticed that his mouth, he doesn't really have a mouth. Is that a mask that he's wearing?
That's his bone face.
Like on the bottom part?
Yeah, I didn't want to really give him features. I kind of want him to just be creepy all the time. I use like Spawn as kind of a, the reference.
Yes.
Because Spawn's that black face with the cool spikes and everything. And I like that design a lot.
So would he eventually evolve in the future? Like, for example, later on grow horns or spikes or like a cape later on? Because I can see so much happening with that character. It's just so cool. I mean,
we have a lot of stuff planned for him. We've actually got quite a bit of stuff written out for the character and other characters.
Okay.
He will evolve a little bit in the future. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
It's gonna be
cool.
It's gonna be really fun.
I haven't given him any nifty accessories yet, but
no, he's probably gonna get some like
the axes.
Oh yeah, he has some axes because I just like tomahawks. Those are cool.
Yeah.
So
Josh gave him some axes for
Yeah, I remember when I was working on the cover, not the cover, but that sketch for the YouTube video, and then drawing it in black and white. The bone was across the face to the jaw, and then on the bottom was just this black part. Yeah. In black and white, it kind of looked like his mouth was open. You know what I mean? It kind of looked like an open mouth, but after it's colored, then it looks like it's part of the face.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's
I
hadn't really thought about, because Josh just wanted it to be like shrouded. Initially, I was going to have him have like really sharp, mangled teeth, kind of a creepy mouth. But Josh just decided to have it in like mystery.
Good job. I think it looked pretty good. Yeah, and you guys also had that other character, the one with the doll. I don't really know much about it, but I see this little toy doll that walks around, and then he'll go up to someone. All of a sudden, she just opens up, and then the limbs are just like flopping all over the place, and then the feet's gonna be over there.
That one was a fun one to come up with. It took me a long time to figure out what I wanted. Issue number 3, I wanted. Do you know the urban legend, the Black-Eyed Children?
Okay.
So that's kind of the feel I wanted with this monster, but I felt like just having black-eyed kids would be, too close to the urban legend and not interesting enough for Bleakhaven.
How about the mouth?
Oh yeah.
What was your inspiration for that?
Josh actually made a sculpture years ago. When did you make that sculpture?
2011.
I was a kid in high school when he made that sculpture. Basically, there was he put a cat skull on top of a box, and then he used wire to put a porcelain doll head around it that he had cut up. The image kind of stuck in my mind, and I thought it would be really cool to have like a monster that was like a doll or a child that opened up and stretched out to be this monster. And then Josh designed the monster as well.
Hey, it sounds pretty memorable. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. I like how the mouth opens up and there's all these teeth. When I was drawing that cover, I just thought of Predator. The Predator, how he just opens up his mouth and things are just coming out at you. Yeah, I thought that was very cool.
Yeah, we our mom is a doll collector, and she has.
I hate those dolls. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. Those dolls that they open up their eyes when you put them down, or sometimes if you move them and then they'll start making sounds.
Yeah, she has one that's a porcelain doll that the eyes move and the porcelain's all cracked. And the thing that makes it the creepiest though is it has real human hair.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's scary. I mean, even now as I'm talking about it, I have a little bit of chills just thinking about it. So one time someone gave us one of those dolls as a gift. So we got it, and then I kind of didn't like it because it kind of looks real. And then every time I put it down, closes his eyes, opens up. So I just decided to put it in the garage and just leave it alone and leave it in the box. One day I was downstairs in the garage, and all of a sudden I hear hee hee ha ha ha.
Oh
no! No one touched it, and I'm like, "What's going on? I gotta get rid of this." Yeah, and ever since then, I was like, I don't like dolls.
Cut to a scene where Walden's just by a bridge, just chucking it off the bridge.
That's right. That's right. Yeah,
I think that's Josh's inspiration for the design too, because he hates dolls more than I do, and I don't like dolls. Neither of us, because we grew up with those creepy dolls. We always hated them.
I wasn't ever scared of them until I went to an antique store.
Yes.
A child-sized doll, and I saw it from across the room. And once I locked eyes with it, I couldn't keep my eyes off of it because I didn't want to turn my back.
That was the scariest.
And then I brought Cade and my sister just to see if they would get the same reaction. And my sister swore at me and hit me.
That was a creepy doll.
It was a scary doll.
And that's I think that doll played a lot of inspiration for the monster character, because it was like, it felt predatory, even though it's just a doll. It felt like a predatory like thing. I don't know. It was weird and creepy. So that's where more of the
basement
doll
of an antique store.
Yeah, it was super creepy place, super creepy doll.
So you two are brothers?
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice that you're brothers and you're working together. And Casandra is your wife?
Yeah.
Okay, and she's the publisher, or
I do like marketing type stuff. I'm more the project manager.
Okay.
Everything's accounted for, I guess.
Yeah, she keeps us on track. She handles the business side of things. She was behind the website and the social media stuff. So
I see. So it's more of a family run company kind of thing.
I mean, and we have a lot of other people around, and
it's like half and half.
Yeah, I mean, it's just people that were around us. We had this idea a few years ago, and we've been pursuing it ever since. And Josh has been doing art for, I don't even know, a long time. He's significantly older than me. He's an old man. He's the oldest, and I'm the youngest.
Now, how did the ideal of Bleakhaven sparked? I mean, all of you had interest, but how did that ideal of the company spark?
The company, well, it was kind of just a fun thing that we were playing, that Cassie and I had kind of come up with. I had an idea for a cool story moment, and then we just kind of built around that and started justifying that moment. My background is in film.
Okay.
So I initially wanted to do an animated show because I don't think it would look good with all the monsters and CG. So I initially had like an animated show, Batman the Animated Series kind of style idea. And we pursued that for a while, and we figured that, and we had Josh do all the character designs, all the concept art for it. And then I just kind of realized that it's just really difficult to get anything like that moving without something backing it up. So, it's already a comic book world. So I figured we would start with the comic books and then work our way up to the show eventually.
Yeah, that's a good way to start. So when you had the idea and you asked Josh to design the characters, was Josh just, okay, I'll just draw whatever you want to draw? Or did
No,
Josh know that this is going to be a comic?
I don't know, Josh.
A lot of times I'll sketch and stuff goes some places, and most of the time it doesn't. But you have those sketchbooks full of stuff, and Cade's like, I need you to draw some monsters, and I'm always up for drawing monsters that are new and different. So I just came up with some stuff, gave it to him, and he kept going with it and pushing it. And
so it was almost like a collaboration between Josh and Stanley, where Josh would draw something and then Stanley would say, oh, let's tweak this a little bit, change this.
Most of the time he lets me do what I want. He's like, he gives me like 2 sentences or a paragraph of what the character does, or how he feels like it. And most of the time I'll get it right the first time. Sometimes
it takes work.
Like the little alien guy was a bit of a struggle.
And then you just decided to do what you wanted.
And then,
anyway.
Well, I was trying to please Cassie's sister or brother.
Yeah, he was helping us create this too. He created an alien character.
Well, is he an artist also, or he's
no? He was just contributing to the story.
Okay.
So that's his little character and his little part of the world, but I don't know if he even likes the design, but that's how
it's growing on him. It's growing on him. And then when we took it to Josh came up with all this cool anatomy for the alien, and I don't know, working with Josh is different than other artists, because initially the style of Bleakhaven, I wrote the show with Josh's art in mind. Mm-hmm. Just because I grew up with it, and he's been working on it and crafting that for so long, and I love his art style, and so that's kind of the art style I kind of came with. So he usually gets things right on because it was kind of crafted around that. We think similarly, but he does what he wants. He's more of a I try to have, as you know, I try to let the artist have fun with it, and I try to fill in important details. And then let the artist fill in whatever else they want to.
I remember when you asked me to work on a cover, you just said, use these characters. And I was sketching it out. It looks good. I was drawing it. It looks good. Not a lot of this looks bad. Tweak here, tweak there. That's one of the great things about you work as an editor or a publisher, where if an editor just lets you do whatever you want, the artist just puts more love into the work, and they'll just go in there and do all that they can. And that's like one of the nice things that you have. Yeah, like the way you let artists just do whatever they like.
Well, we originally, Kate and I worked together on a whiteboard company. So we get clients who give us a script, and I storyboard it before we film it. And I usually try to have fun or silly, interesting things, because dentistry and lawyers and insurance stuff that they
bankers.
Write and baking, it's all boring. Like, they rarely have scripts. So to keep people entertained, I try to throw fun things in it. And those people that nitpick, like those clients that just nitpick and want everything looking a certain way, and they just drain the fun. The drawing, you can tell in the end product when when the video is fun, or when somebody's who doesn't know what they're doing has had their hand in it for doing it. And Cade's the editor, so he sees all these little things and has to deal with all these nitpicky clients, and it just like drains the life out of anything interesting, and it makes this videos stale and boring. So he understands the difference between being kind of like a leader, or being kind of like a slave driver, kind of someone who makes you do, you're in an assembly line. You're creating something that's interesting that people should enjoy. And if you take the life out of it, then nobody's going to enjoy it.
Yeah. I want it to be organic and fun. And that's the big thing. People notice when the artist doesn't have fun.
Yeah. So like when Stanley contacted me originally, before we actually started working together, I did a lot of research on Bleakhaven. So I did look up as much as I can, and I did find your YouTube channel. And on your YouTube channel, there was one video where there was 2 artists drawing on the same piece.
Mhm.
I assume one is Josh, and
Yeah,
the other one is
Rufus is the second artist who did the second issue.
okay. So are you guys doing like rotation? Like Josh is doing odd numbers, and then what's the other artist's name?
Rufus.
Rufus.
Yeah, they were just going back and forth. We did that. We actually did that for our first event. We were supposed to go to a convention in October, but that fell through because of obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So we decided to do a virtual event, and one of the big things is we did an original piece giveaway. So we did a raffle for that piece, and so I made a quick video on them drawing it. So it took them like 2 hours to draw it, and then I just sped it up and edited it.
Are you guys gonna be putting up more content on YouTube?
Well, one thing that we have, because it takes a while to get the comic books out. One thing we've done is we've made a sort of a radio drama audiobook type of thing. It's like in universe Bleakhaven. Sorry, my virus protection is good. That's all it's saying. So with the YouTube channel, we're doing a journal from a paranormal investigator from the 20s and a police officer in the modern days reading through it. So that's the main thing we're doing with the YouTube channel. We're in works to get some animations up in there, stuff like that.
Any ideas about tying some of the videos to like your first issue, second issue?
Well, the stories connect. So the stories that are being told connect directly to the second issue of Bleakhaven and a little bit to the first one. It's something that we're planning a lot of content to kind of do little tie-ins here and there. We're building up to the whole connections, all the connections.
Yeah, so I noticed that when you sent me the first issue to look at, it's also a flip book where issue 1's on one side and issue 2's on the second side. Are future comics going to be like that? Like issue 3 and 4 is going to be in one book and then flip side the other side, or will it be standalone issue numbers?
We're gonna phase out of the flip book style. I think once in a while we'll do that, but for the next, I think for 3 and 4, it will be a flip book.
Okay.
It will be about 10 to 15 pages longer. These two are really short. You know, it's our first book, so we just tried to keep something simple and easy to learn the process. And now we're getting into the longer form books. And Welcome to Bleakhaven is actually a mini series. There's only going to be 10 issues. There might be more if I decide to write more.
Okay.
And then we have 3 other titles that we're working on right now.
So Bleakhaven kind of works. I don't know if you were around back then, but there's Dark Horse Comics used to have this comic called Dark Horse Presents. Have you ever heard of that? And then where it's that same title, but then they will introduce new characters along the way, a few pages of this character and a few pages of that character. So it's Bleakhaven, a comic where it introduces all these individual characters for the 10 issues. And then later on, they'll span into their own series, depending on readers' feedback.
Welcome to Bleakhaven is actually stories. They're like super tiny stories. And I kind of patterned it off of like a Twilight Zone-esque sort of anthology. And all of these little stories take place within the larger story of the show we've written. And again, if that show takes off, then we can fill the cracks, so to speak, and kind of make all the connections in the show. Or if we can't get a show, we'll just make it its own comic book series. But this is just like an introduction to the world and the characters and all that sort of stuff.
More to like gather interest for the animated show. We do have full series with specific sets of characters that we're planning and have announced.
Yeah, so regular ones. So we have the main one is the Priest of Bleakhaven, because there's a lot of stuff just called the Priest. So he's in the first issue. There's the priest character that's helping the Skullivan in the cathedral. He's one of the big, I guess, he's one of the mentor type characters. So in
Obi-Wan,
he's kind of like Obi-Wan Kenobi. We have a series written in the 80s with him, so it's just a prequel series that will be more standard form. And then Cassie's actually writing a series called Marks.
Marks is a comic about an assassin character who, in the first issue, she gets betrayed by the people, her family essentially, and it shows like the arc of this sniper character who doesn't know how to be a human being, going through life like figuring out where she is after being dumped by her organization, basically.
So she's a sniper.
That one's pretty cool. It's got less magic kind of stuff and more like science, evil corporation.
So a sniper, she can only do what she does with a rifle. Can she, for example, pick up a rock and still hit his target?
That is a good
she
question.
Like bullseye?
Bullseye?
Kind of like bullseye?
Not quite.
So what if she doesn't have the rifle?
She's pretty good in close combat as well.
She's got other skills.
She's got weapons.
Okay.
If you were to give her like a title, it would be more just an assassin, but she just specializes as a marksman.
Okay.
She also gets superpowers later, but we don't want to spoil anything.
I was just about to ask, what kind of superpowers?
That's under lock and key.
Something like a Green Lantern where she just forms a whole rifle.
The cool thing about the Marks one, because I did some concept art for there, is that they're based on chess pieces. The assassins and the organization is based on different chess pieces. So coming up with interesting characters that you could tell are chess pieces if you look at them, but they're not obvious. That was a cool thing about those.
Didn't DC Comics work on a title where a lot of those characters were chess pieces, like the knight and the bishop? And I forget what it's called, but I remember DC Comics used to have.
Cassie and Josh have done a really good job at making a sort of a fresh take on the chess motif. And I think it's a really interesting aspect they've got, because Marks is really sort of a pawn in the whole thing, and that's sort of her arc. But the other villains are like the Kingsmen, and the Kingsmen are really cool because they're like these super powered people that have, are chess piece like individuals like knight, rook, and bishop.
The main villain, his name is Callahan King Marks, but he just goes by Callahan King.
Or King.
Or just King, Mr. King.
Yeah, and that's where you get the chess motif. That's why he set up his organization that way.
Basically, her goal is to overcome this idea that she's an insignificant pawn. For lack of a better way to describe it, she conquers the chessboard, wins the game.
So this, like, the Marks sounds like a different universe than Bleakhaven, or they're all in the same universe?
It's the same universe, but Bleakhaven is more of a New York city.
Okay.
And Marks is going to be somewhere more like Seattle.
So there's a chance that eventually in the future comic that they can meet up or something, or they can see
We've already
each other.
Got plans.
Okay.
It's in the works.
Okay.
And then our third book is more of a young adult novel, because obviously the scary doll monster isn't really meant for children.
Yeah.
We have more of a young adult thing being written by a good friend of mine, Donald Roos, and it's called Credence, Rise of the Mothmen. And Josh did some really cool designs of that. And it's about these two boys. They're going to scout camp, and their leader is taken and turned into a monster by the bad guy. Mm-hmm. And then so a Mothman comes, and the three of them go on this journey to save their scoutmaster. And it takes place more in a rural
like Midwest,
backwoods.
Midwest backwoods. They travel through the woods and stuff. So it's less of a city scene, and it focuses more heavily on magic and cryptozoology.
The Scout's Guide to Bleakhaven Monsters, is that?
Yeah, basically.
When you start printing comics, from issue 1 and 2, the first comic that came out, the next one is coming out in bi-monthly, or
that's what we're working on. We're building up to, my goal is by the end of the year to have an issue out every month. So we're just trying to build it up. So I'm trying to get it to be bi-monthly, and it's mostly balancing funds and momentum.
So you're printing the books. Is it distributed through Diamond, or it's
they're actually distributed through us right now?
Okay.
Really,
will it eventually be distributed through somewhere else?
Yeah, we're in talks with a publishing company / distribution company that's
Okay.
They kind of want to mimic what Image and Dark Horse started out as. More under wraps until we have more information.
Yeah, we're
Yes.
still working on that kind of stuff.
So it sounds like in the future, besides just working on Marks and Bleakhaven and all those other characters and properties, maybe you'll start printing other people's work as well.
That's possible. That's something we've been talking about. Josh actually had a fun idea.
Rufus and I both have our own comic ideas that we have that we'd wanted to do. I mean, mine's like a 6-issue miniseries, and so was Rufus's. But you can't. It's hard to take those to a comic book company and say, "Oh, I got a 6-issue miniseries that would be fun. You guys want to hire me?"
So our goal for that is to have sort of like a sub branding, kind of like a DC Vertigo situation, where sort of a Tales from the Multiverse of just these mini series that don't really fit in the bigger picture with Bleakhaven, but we just want to tell stories.
Okay.
And that's something where I would love to have other people come into doing comic books as well.
How about marketing? How do you go about doing marketing?
It's Cassie's job.
We have a friend who has a marketing degree who's been helping us, mostly Facebook marketing right now.
Did you try going through maybe Kickstarter and Indiegogo?
Yeah, we have plans to do a Kickstarter.
So we have our first signing event in March. We're preparing to start a Kickstarter around the same time.
Make an announcement during the signing event kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me more about the signing event. When is it? In March?
March 13th at Black Cat Comics.
And where's that located?
Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City?
Them and another company called the Rogue Trader. He does the comic books online. He sells comic books online. They hired us to do a variant cover for the first issue.
Variant cover for the first issue of Bleakhaven?
Yeah, so for Sullivan...
like an exclusive cover for that store kind of thing.
Yeah, so
I got it.
Exclusive Black Cat Scullivan cover, and then on the other side, it's an exclusive Rogue Trader cover. So they hired us to do that, and they wanted to do an event, and it's kind of evolved into sort of a bigger form event. They haven't told us who it is, but they've signed on or are in the process of signing on or getting an industry comic book artist to come do the signing as well, and we've turned it into a charity event. So it's actually going to be for the American Cancer Society.
Yes,
we're just really excited to go do our first charity event.
And then who's the industry artist?
They've asked us to not.
Oh, okay.
It's that's under wraps. That's their deal.
This event also benefits charity. What was the charity again?
The American Cancer Society.
American Cancer. Now, how did they get involved?
The Rogue Trader's wife actually works for the American Cancer Society, so they do a ton of charity events. He does charity events for them and a lot of veteran charity events. So when he brought it up to us, we pushed towards the charity event because we thought that would be a great opportunity to, do some service and as well as get our name out there.
Oh, that's nice. And how is it are you guys gonna be doing sketches and signings? And I mean, the charity, how is the charity gonna be a charity?
A portion of the proceeds of everything we sell there and everything they sell will be going to the American Cancer Society. We also have a online auction.
Oh, nice. So it's not just local, but it can also branch out.
Yeah.
And then so people can go to your Facebook page and then find out more information about that, and also go to the comic store's website.
The Rogue Trader, his name's Eric. He has a YouTube channel, so I think
Rogue Trader is the name of the store.
Yeah, the Rogue Trader is the name of the store, and that's kind of his title, I guess.
Is it a comic book store or is it some other kind of store?
Yeah, it's an online comic book store, and he does a lot of like tabletop RPG kind of stuff.
Okay. So he has an actual brick and mortar store.
No, it's all Black Cat.
Oh, the Black Cat. Okay.
They're two separate entities, but they're like best friends. So
I see.
Yeah, so we are probably going to stream it on either his YouTube channel or another YouTube channel.
Have it happen live and answer questions and things. Is Birdman going to be there?
Birdman's going to be there.
Oh yeah.
Josh and Rufus did a really good job on a picture of the Scullivan that I had a cardboard cutout made of. So we've actually got a photo booth. People can go take pictures with the Scullivan there.
Is it where they're standing next to Scullivan, or they're putting their head into this little circle of Scullivan?
Here, I'll show you.
I'd love to see it.
Check it
I'll
out.
move it. It's right over there.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That is nice. Is he that he's tall?
Yeah, I made him life size.
Yeah.
I'm 6'3".
So Scullivan is that tall in the comic. Wow. That's a nice cutout. You know, when you said cutout, I just thought, okay, maybe, you guys just drew something on a cardboard and just cut around it. That is a nice cutout.
We went all out for it.
We might pay too much attention to quality.
That's
that's
nice. I think quality is important.
So is that one whole piece, or was it originally like a few pieces like folded, or?
It was one piece folded.
One piece folded? That's nice.
Yeah, I was really happy with how it turned out. And then Josh and Rufus did a really good job. Like Rufus colored it. Josh penciled and inked it.
Okay.
But Rufus he really made sure it was like a really big, high quality file. So
otherwise.
Real bad if it was the original size blown up.
He did a good job on that.
Man, you guys got a nice room too.
Oh,
all those toys and the Batman thing, and
that's the whole house.
It helps that I'm a toy collector. I'm an avid toy collector, and I kind of convinced her to let me keep doing it.
Yeah. What kind of toys are you buying now?
Oh man, I buy too many. I need to not buy them. But I collect Star Wars Black Series. Frickin' Todd McFarlane takes all my money with those new DC ones.
Tell me about it. I stopped collecting action figures for a long time. And then all of a sudden, McFarlane started doing these DC figures, and I'm buying this and buying that. It's just bringing me back.
Yeah, I thought of you because I actually just got the Red Sun Superman figure the other day too.
Oh yeah. I think it's starting to come out now in the stores.
Yeah, I just found it at Target the other day. Actually, Josh found it for me. He's a toy collector too.
Yeah, I was at a Target a couple of weeks ago, and I saw Superman Red Sun, the action figure that McFarlane did, and I was thinking, should I just get a Sharpie and sign it? and it's like it now feel weird. What if I get in trouble for it?
Yeah, I just got that one. I do Marvel Legends too.
Marvel Legends?
Yeah, mostly like Spider-Man and Venom stuff.
I would love to see a video of your toys.
Maybe I'll send you one.
On your channel. A lot of people like
should. You really should. Just be like, look, guys, I'm a fellow nerd.
And then you say, I'm a Bleakhaven publisher. Check out my comic. And then look at my toys. Don't forget about my comic.
So, yeah, the goal is someday to do Bleakhaven toys, too. So.
Oh, cool. Nice.
That's something that we
would love.
If we could do it now, we would have already done a lot.
So you mentioned you had a film background. Was that your full-time job before going into comics? Are you still doing it now, or?
Yeah, I'm still doing it now. I'm an editor. I do freelance editing work for local short films and stuff like that. And as Josh mentioned, I edit these whiteboard animation videos, and that's where most of my professional experience has been. I've directed some short films, and I've been working on finishing a few. Yeah.
So when you write stories and you create the script for Josh to draw, you're pretty creative with camera angles and where people are coming out or going and things like that, right?
Since my background's in film, I write comic book script very similarly to a film script. The major difference between writing a film script and writing a comic book script is I've had to stop myself so many times and remind myself that it's not a fluid motion, that I have to describe an image, a storyboard, basically, instead of a fluid, he turns his head and looks at,
So you're also including backgrounds like buildings or parks and where they're at, things like that. You have to tell Josh where to put that. Or is it something where Josh gets your script and then you guys just talk to each other in person or on the phone and then kind of figure out what the backgrounds, where they're located?
Yeah, Josh.
Or just do what you want?
So it's interesting working with Josh and Rufus because they're completely different kinds of artists. my job in the writing process for me is I need to make it as simple as possible. I need to include only the important details and let the artists fill in the rest. And so with Rufus, I gave him the script, and I include the backgrounds. I include, this is the setting, and this is what, these are the important objects that they interact with, or these are important. Like in the second issue, he drew they were in a cubicle, and I made sure like she needs to have a wedding ring on and stuff like that. So I just include these important details, and then Rufus will start drawing them and ask me how it looks, and I said it's good, you can tweak this. And then he had clarifying questions like, so tell me more about the backstory of the church and the thing they worship and all that kind of stuff. And then with Josh, I wrote the same type of script, and he just did what he wanted. I just try to pull back on the reins once in a while.
Yeah.
With the script he gave me, he had all the panels written out and how he wanted them to look. But after reading the story, just the story, in my head, they didn't work. So I just drew what I thought visually looked better as a comic book artist and as someone who loves watching movies. Like, how do we get here in this way and this way? And some of the stuff Cade wanted was cool, but it didn't fit in, I didn't think, with the story that I was trying to tell.
Okay. And what inspires you to draw the way you draw, Josh?
Oh, I didn't actually get into comics until like my 20s. David Finch's Ascension, his first comic, was like my first, like, that's what comics can look like, because you always, I collected a few. I had the Superman where he split into red and blue, and some of the crazy ones, but the art all looked very similar.
Yes.
I did like Jim Lee and J. Scott Campbell and all of it was that 90s style, which was okay. But then, I saw David Finch, and it was this extreme, like, gothic and dark, and these angels and demons in his Ascension. And that just it kind of clicked for me that's the kind of, like, I mean, and I love, like Mike Mignola, Bruce Timm, and how they've branched off of the main comic book and created their own. So it's like Mike Mignola himself is like, I wasn't a very good comic book artist when he was like inking or stuff, but when he decided to make it his own way, he became amazing.
Yes.
And people like love his stuff now. And that's because he didn't follow what the normal comic book artists were doing. And the same with like Gordon, what's his name? Batman White Knight.
Murphy.
Yeah, Sean Gordon Murphy.
Sean Gordon Murphy. Okay.
Completely told to copy his art like somebody else, and then he's like, I'm just gonna do what I want. And now he's got his own dark DC series, and it's awesome. I mean, I'm not comparing myself to them, but those
but you like those are the type of artists that inspires you to
those are my like inspirations, is like especially David Finch and Sean Gordon Murphy, their line work, and I mean,
a lot of high contrast in all those.
And the Mike Mignola too, like the really blocky stuff. So I don't know if I try to mix a little of the simplistic Mike Mignola and the little gothic David Finch, and try to make those into my version. But those are the kind of the inspirations I have right now that I'm trying to follow and make my own version of those.
Yeah. Do you have a style that you recognize, or you feel like you're still developing a style?
Well, I think I'm still developing, because I was trying to be a fine artist and an illustrator for a long time, and I went into cartoons with the whiteboard animation, and I hadn't done comics for a while. In college I was big into it, and
so you also paint in acrylics and watercolor?
Yeah, watercolor and acrylics mostly, and some children's books,
and so he's done a lot of religious fine art and a lot of like fun, silly cartoon stuff.
So that piece that I looked at, was Josh looking at something and he drew it, or he created that scene?
I made that. I mean, I took reference photos.
And then some of the hands were placed there next to the feet.
Yeah,
so that story is a story that you created up, because I see the artwork and I see the story behind the artwork.
Yeah, that's the Bible story of the woman who had an issue of blood, and she touched Jesus's robe. And in my head, I had the idea of like, what if you're on the same level as that woman? Because we're all basically, if you're religious, you're all struggling and trying to reach that. Like, if I could just touch robe, I will be saved, or I will be full. And I kind of wanted to give that little bit of a strain and the same kind of level
reach.
that she had. And
what medium was that done on?
It was a like a Conte pencil. I'm eventually gonna paint it. I have it set up so where I'm gonna do a painting in oil, but I like pencil a lot. Pencil and pen. It's just I like drawing.
He does a lot of good detail with pencil too. There was one of his more recent pieces was the military one.
Military.
Yeah, I did a military one of like all the veterans through the ages.
So it's the raising of the flag.
Yeah, the raising of the flag. A painting that Josh did, or
right now it's a drawing. I'll eventually be painting, but it's like a colonial soldier, a Civil War, Vietnam,
World War II,
World War I and II, and then a modern soldier all together,
raising
the flag, showing we need everybody.
Which brings me to the next question. I feel like I'm the interviewer. Yeah. So like I saw the art that the one on the wall. When you draw comics, would you eventually start drawing in that style as well? Or are you going to stick to that comic book style? Are you going to move around?
I like moving around. I liked the idea when I was in my 20s of like doing paintings of these comic book artists, and Alex Ross came out and stole my idea. Like, like, I'm not going to get I don't do as he does some detailed stuff. I don't like as much detail. I like kind of a painterly approach, which is just a little off.
I think that's more
realism.
More like sort of like a Bruce Timm approach, where it's more not as simplified, but it's more simplified, and like the lines matter where you put them.
Yeah. So and it's about the shape and the.
Would you eventually think about maybe painting your comic, Josh?
I mean, I can. I thought about it. I got to get back into painting. I've stopped painting for a while. Been doing, with some children's books, some watercolor and pen and ink.
I mean, since Stanley, you, Josh, and everyone who works at Bleakhaven, you can actually make a comic where there's penciling, there's drawing, and then another page that's painting, and then another page that's watercolor. It doesn't have to be just one same tone. You guys know what I mean? It can be different pages, different styles, as long as the story works. Like a flashback sequence can be an all painted scene. Yeah,
I try to do. I'm trying to narrow my styles down into the different areas. Like I'm trying to do a comic book style, an animation style. I'll have my pen and ink and my pencil, and
there's plenty of crossover.
Yeah. I usually do stuff based on how I think it should look. So if an image calls for watercolor, I'll do a watercolor, or if it's an oil or an acrylic painting, then I'll think, that way. And as an illustrator, I'm trying to I'll copy Mignola's kind of style to do something that I think needs to look like that. But so
that's nice. I think it'll work out if you're kind of create art based on what you feel.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm most impressed with artists, because I know, Walden, you talked about this in the Bleakhaven video you did, and Josh talked to me about it a lot too, is you guys push yourselves. I think that's what makes you guys more masters of art, is that you guys don't think you're masters, that you have stuff to learn, and you're always pushing yourself too, and that's something that always surprised me when I see somebody like your art, Walden, is it's so amazing to me. And then to hear you say you're still pushing,
still learning.
Yeah.
I'm sure like I'm the same way with Josh, where every time we're done drawing something and then we look at it again later, we always think that we can do better.
That's why I don't usually have my art in my house. I have maybe a couple pictures, but they're in my kids' rooms. I
am the same. None of the artwork that I've ever done is hanging in my house.
Yeah.
I have everyone else's artwork on the walls except for my own.
I don't like hanging up my art because I'm like, oh, I could have done this better, or I should have done this better.
But the thing with us artists, and like I'll look at someone else's art and I'll appreciate everything about the art, even if it's a mistake, and I can clearly see that it's a mistake. It's still a nice mistake because they made the mistake.
Yeah, they're happy mistakes.
Happy mistakes are the best mistakes.
Yeah.
I have a piece of Arthur Adams artwork where he made a mistake, like on Vampirilla's hair, and I remember that mistake, and every time I see it, it reminds me of the moment he made that mistake.
I only have the one. Like I got one of David Finch's Ascension pages from the issue 1 where he's growing his wings out of his back, and I have it right over my desk, and it's a pretty cool inspiration.
It's super cool.
You're an art collector?
Yeah, if I had more money, I would be.
Yeah, it's an expensive hobby.
I got this piece, and it was $150 when I was in college, and it was pricey then, but now it's so hard to collect.
I'm sure that Ascension piece just valued over 10 times or more.
Yeah, I know. It's I don't ever want to sell it though. Like I collect it to keep it, not to sell it. So I'm like,
yeah. For a while, when I started working in comics, I wanted to collect comic art, but then it was just so expensive. I never ended up collecting art. And then I would just go to comic book stores and I would look for black and white variant comics where you can see the black and white line work, and I would take that to Kinko's and I would blow up that image to 11:17. I would study the line work, just to study the other artists to get better at my own work. Even now, like sometimes I'll look at other people posting on social media the current projects. I would look at it, download it onto my computer, and I would blow it up and I would look at every line, or how they crisscross lines, or how they create textures, painting, how they paint. And I would try to sit there and I would try to dissect which part they painted first and the process. I would try to imagine myself being them and their footsteps in creating that piece of artwork.
It is. I like when people put their process online.
Yes.
Because I've been watching, David Finch has a channel now on YouTube, and it's interesting to see how he goes about. It was not how I imagined he drew.
The way he draws. Yeah, it's always interesting to see how artists draw. Sometimes I'll go to comic book conventions and I'll watch how they start the process of creating a character or creating the layouts. And it's not what I imagined that they would do it, and then it's interesting. One time I was looking at another artist, and he would color everything in first, and then when he colored everything, it just looks like a blob, and I couldn't figure out what he was coloring. Then he took out his pencil and his microns and drew on top of the colors, and everything just came together. Like when I do artwork, usually I would draw everything out in the line work first, then I'll paint on the line work to paint inside the line work.
Like a gamble, the color part first.
Yeah, he's all scribbling, coloring, and then doing all the different colors, and it didn't make sense. But in his head, he sees the image, and then he would just draw around the colors. That was the most interesting thing I've ever seen. I still remember it. Dude, so Stanley, do you draw also?
I did a lot. I still have like a personal sketchbook that I draw in. I don't draw publicly. There's some of my pieces.
When you say you don't draw publicly, that means you don't draw in the library, or?
No, I mean, I don't draw and then post it usually.
Oh, I see.
So I focused more heavily on writing after high school. In high school, I wanted to be an artist. Being a comic book artist was a huge dream of mine in high school. And then when I left high school, I kind of realized that, and I got into more of the fine art classes of college. I realized like I could pursue a career in art, like fine art, but I really like writing a lot more.
But you know how to sketch and draw some, right?
Yeah.
So when you print out, I don't know if you print out scripts to Josh, or you just email it? Do you draw thumbnails once in a while on?
Not for
on
Josh.
script?
For Rufus, I will.
Rufus?
For Rufus, I'll draw a couple of like quick reference sketches. Okay. I do a lot of touch-up stuff because again, I had a lot of, not a lot, but I had some training in fine art and graphic design and that sort of thing. So once I get the art back, a lot of it is tweaking. So I actually edited quite a bit of the photos on our social media and in the comic book. So I do a lot of that kind of editing. Sometimes I won't draw it for Josh, because Josh will sit there and critique me instead of but sometimes for Rufus I'll send a quick thumbnail of how something should look.
Okay, so even after Rufus is done drawing, you sometimes do some art touch-ups, kind of like adjust some things.
For both of our artists, or for any of them, and Pibby too. Pibby's our colorist right now, and he's probably gonna expand into some inking and pencil work soon.
Okay.
But yeah, sometimes it'll just come back a little sloppy, and I'm not blaming the artists for that, even though maybe I should. But sometimes there'll be like little lines in the black, or like there'll be gradations where I would want it to be like a pure black, so I'll go in and edit it in pure black. And sometimes the lines aren't like the box lines aren't straight completely, so I'll go into Photoshop and just
fix it up a little bit,
make sure everything is high quality.
So Josh, when you're done with the artwork, how do you scan it?
I do.
Oh, you do the scan it. So Josh just passes you the artwork in here. You take care of the rest.
Yeah, I usually just go down to the FedEx scanning place and pay 50 cents to get the pages scanned, and then I'll go.
Why don't you scan it yourself? It's easier.
It's on the list of things.
Yeah, but it's next to Target, and so we just.
Josh has a nice scanner, but it's for regular page sizes. So the 11 by 16.
11 by 16. 11 by 17. Yeah, brother has some nice scanners, and they're about like under $300.
Okay,
you get a scanner.
We're gonna have to invest in one of those soon.
Yeah, and then it's you can actually use any scanner. I used to use the those regular printer paper scanner, and I would scan the top half, and I would scan the bottom half, and I would piece them together. The resolution is just making it into a higher resolution to scan. I used to scan at 1200 dpi, which took a long time for the scanner to like scan, like a long time. But then after that, I would reduce it back to the right resolution that we need for printing, and it will still be okay. Like Kinko's or the printing place, they don't really have any scanners that's much more different than the scanners we have. It's just boosting up the resolution.
I feel like I don't trust myself with technology too often. So that's the main thing. But no, that is something we're looking into, is getting a nice scanner to.
I remember I used to before we used scanners, Marvel and DC, they would have us send FedEx. They would actually have us FedEx the pages to the printers because they would have scanners there. We didn't know that we can just use whatever scanners. And then it was such a rush deadline that we had to go out there and make a photocopy so we have a record of it, and then make sure we drive those pages to FedEx in order to turn it in. Otherwise, if we missed that 4:00 deadline, it would be another day that the other artist will have to wait for it, or another day that the editor would have to wait for it. But having a scanner at home, once I'm done, I scan it, and then I can just send it to the colorist, and he can get it like 5 minutes later. It's just so much easier.
And that's something that is really interesting. Is like I couldn't have done this, even 10 years ago. The technology we have today it's given us the ability to create the book we have today.
Yeah, or like I'm able to talk to you and chit chat with you guys. You're at your home, I'm at my home. We couldn't do that 30, 40 years ago.
Oh, exactly. And I couldn't, contact you about doing the cover. And
when I first started learning how to do how to use a brush to ink, I was working with another artist. We didn't even have emails at the time. We would fax each other with a fax machine. And I was standing in front of the fax machine, and I would wait blip, 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 for those pages to come out. It just took forever. Yeah, these days with the email, it's just so quick and
it's
easy.
In seconds. It's
like I can finish something here in San Francisco, and I could send it to a colorist in New York, and he would get it in 5 minutes or less. One of the pencils I work with, he works in Mexico, and then once he's done, I would get it 5 minutes later. It's just amazing what technology can do these days.
It's been a huge help to us in general, and even Photoshop and being able to use that and making sure the pages are good and being able to contact the people, because we have a third party that helped us print the book too. He's I don't even know what his title would be, but he's like an expert in printing. So he's not the printer himself, but he knows the exact dimensions and he usually does books, but we came to him with a comic book and he's like, yeah, you need this and this and this and this. And it was huge help getting the comic book to get it to the printer. He helped us find a good printer. And
yeah. Is your printer in the US or somewhere?
Yep. These are all US made.
Good. And a lot of the Marvel and DC stuff is from Canada.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Every time I'm done working on something, I get a comp copy, and it's shipped from Canada.
Well, that's interesting. I had no idea that there were so many printers up prices.
There. Yeah, I don't know what the prices are, but it's made in US, printed in Canada, sold in US. And how does Birdman fit into? And I spoke to Birdman in a previous podcast, but he's also a part of Bleakhaven too, right?
Yeah. So I don't even know how you got involved. You just
he just joined himself. And
well, Birdman, how did you become a part of Bleakhaven?
I just showed up one day, just like they said. I don't know. I think we were just talking about podcasts in general, and I thought it would be a great idea to do a podcast for Bleakhaven. So that's how
this happened.
I joined up.
He gets all the credit for the Bleakhaven podcast.
Yeah.
He's been incredibly helpful in spreading our influence, I guess.
And adding content. I really like the behind the scenes sort of thing, and to talk about not just the book, but art and stuff we're doing. And he's been good at it. He's also helping us do more of those YouTube stuff. We have some more stories and I guess radio drama-esque type of stuff going on, and he's actually a voice actor as well.
Oh, nice.
I've been mostly helping them with between podcast and the whole audio drama stuff, and we've been working on that.
That brings up a good question. Like Birdman does voiceovers. Would you be making a comic where there will be a YouTube video coming out and then you would kind of read like audio, like a visual audio video of the comic?
That is something we've talked about doing a lot, especially with the young adult book, is having sort of a book reading of the comic book, like a week or two after it's published. So that's something we're playing around with. Birdman's actually trying to come up with some voices for some of the characters as well. Yeah. So
how about visually? Is it going to be panels that you're going to show while he's doing the voiceovers?
Yeah. So it's going to be like panel. The other thing, Cassie's actually writing this, so I don't know a whole bunch about it, but that one's going to be less visual and more of like audio notes from one of the characters in Bleakhaven. So that one won't be as visual. It'll be more of a podcast type thing.
Okay. Will there be music involved?
Yeah, we actually have someone who's an amazing
nice
as well.
You guys have like a whole team of everyone.
We're working on it.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, we actually have a theme song for the show, because we actually met him earlier on when we were trying to pursue the TV show. So we actually wrote the theme song first. That was one of the first things we do. So we have that in the vault.
I think that's the point at which the people like around us started taking us seriously, when we're like, look, we paid for a composition for this.
That's nice.
And they're like, wow, you're actually doing things.
And that's another thing that's been interesting, is like we're just a bunch of people that want to create something, and that's a big thing. And it's been interesting to see the shift. We go, I'm making a comic book, and they're like, oh, that's nice, we'll put that on the fridge or something, And so it's been interesting to see the shift from, hey, we want to make a comic book, to we have a physical book, and we've worked really hard on it, and I think that hard work paid off.
Yeah, I think so. I think that first issue looked pretty good. the paper quality, everything about it is nice.
But yeah, that's something that I'm really proud of, is the quality. And again, we've been really fortunate to have the people around us who are really good at their job. I think that Josh and Rufus are really great artists, and I was able to, put it together with Photoshop and getting all the files done. Cassie's been working on the social media website stuff, and we were able to find a good person to build the website. And we've just been very fortunate to have to be able to be in contact with people and work with them. Even I feel very fortunate to collaborate with you on that cover and other work, and I look forward to working with you on stuff in the future as well.
Oh yeah, it was an honor to work on your character. I just noticed that you were in a Bleakhaven hat. I didn't notice it until now.
This is my hat. It was much too expensive to put on the store, but I figured I wanted one because I always have a baseball cap.
Tell the listeners where they can get apparel from you guys.
Yeah, we've got on bleakhaven.com, we've got t-shirts and I don't know, what else do we have? Do you have any other pair? We have all sorts of t-shirts.
We have a sweater.
T-shirts and hoodies in different colors.
We just added a mug as well, a Bleakhaven mug, that I just found out that we could make those, so I signed up on it.
So the mug, is it like the logo or with a character, or?
Well, we initially found one. We bought it to keep pins in for the event, but I actually really liked it, so we decided to put it up on the website. And it's just got our Welcome to Bleakhaven logo on it in black, and then it's just a white mug.
Yeah, that's a nice logo too, by the way. Like whoever designed the.
Oh, that was all Josh. Josh did a fantastic job with the logos. He made this logo and Welcome to Bleakhaven, and I'm impressed with him because again, he pushes himself. The poster was our first official piece of art that we put out, and I thought he was just gonna do a quick, I don't know, I guess a Drew Struzan-esque sort of rip off and just push it out quickly, but he spent a lot of time and effort on the composition of that poster, and he did a really good job penciling it.
That's available on the website.
That's also available on the website. We have as a poster. It's actually really nice quality too. It's
museum
quality,
like what is it, like those watercolor paper quality kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's about that quality. It's pretty thick. It's printed really nicely. We have a nice distributor on that merchandise. Any more questions? I think we hit everything.
I think we've just about hit everything on the on the head today.
Do you have any questions for us, Walden?
No, I'm good. Do you have any questions for me? I think I've been asking all the questions.
No, I love it.
All of ours.
No, we had a list of stuff we were going to talk about, and I think we just went through it all. So
good.
It was great. And
I think it's safe to say you can become the substitute interviewer.
Yeah, I have a marketing degree too, and I do a lot of teaching. Sometimes when I give presentations for my work, and then I'll just stand up there and I'll just talk, and then as Birdman knows, sometimes it's hard to get me to be quiet.
I'll
just keep going.
Thanks for coming on the podcast for a second time too. We know how valuable your time is, so thank you.
No, thank you for having me. This is fun. It was nice to meet Josh and Casandra. Actually, fun to be able to talk to you, Stanley. So that was very nice.
It's really nice.
Yeah. The first time I did the podcast with the Birdman, I just saw you for a little bit, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes into the podcast, and I was like, "Where's Stanley? What happened to him?"
I know, I ran off. I had some urgent work to take.
Yeah.
Have you ever been? Sorry, this is a complete subject change. But have you ever been to the Salt Lake Comic-Con or FanX? I guess
never. Hopefully, when convention season opens up, I'll start doing more conventions. But maybe not. I don't know when they're going to start opening up. I have conventions that would ask me to go, but then later on they'll cancel again because of what's happening.
Yeah, that's what happened to us. That happened to us 2 or 3 times last year. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see when it's going to be safe again.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah, because I love meeting people. How often can you talk to like a stranger about something that you love? Like you can do that at a comic convention. You can just walk to anyone and say, "Hey, how's the latest movie of Spider-Man? how do you like Batman's new situation or whatever? Like you can only do that at comic book conventions.
I love comic book conventions.
Yeah.
I'm super excited to be more involved with them.
If you have a panel at one of the conventions to talk about Bleakhaven, I think that's pretty good. And then right after the panel, have people go to your booth, maybe some kind of ticket or like a freebie or something. Everyone's just gonna follow. A lot of times, when I'm doing conventions, I always go to a panel, and then after the panel, I'll say, whoever goes to my booth, you're gonna get a free print. And then when I walk back to my booth, there's a line of people.
That's probably what we're gonna do with the trading cards. I think I told you about that. I turned your Skullivan picture into the trading card. We have,
so on the back of it, there's stats of Skullivan.
Yeah.
So is it a trading card where the front there's kind of like a baseball card? There's a whole character, and then on the back there's a headshot of the character and stats of. Oh, can I see it again? This is so exciting. Oh, I see Skullivan on the side. Oh, it fits right in there. Nice.
And then here's the back.
Oh, that's amazing. No, I see it. The whole layout of it is pretty awesome.
I worked on this thing for like 6 hours.
Yeah.
Photoshop getting it just right.
Yeah, those things sells at conventions. Those trading cards. You'll be surprised. You have a whole bunch of it, and then have some ready to sign, and people is just. I don't know why people like trading cards so much.
They can hide them from their significant other.
Well, they're little. I think they're just. I don't know. I always thought trading cards were so fun. I never had anybody trade with growing up, though. But yeah, the trading card was Donald's idea. I loved it, but Cassie was iffy on it. So we were able to convince her, though, because I don't remember how we were able to convince you.
I don't know.
Was it the marketing thing?
I think it was the Kickstarter, actually. I'm like,
oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
thing to ship
smart.
out is
we do an exclusive card for Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, it works. And then we got them in the mail, and I looked at it. I'm like, okay, I understand now. I'm sold.
and so now we're actually planning on doing a new trading card for every event to like incentivize people to keep coming back to our different events.
Oh, cool. Are the trading cards going to be numbered? Like your second event, number 2, third event, number 3?
Yeah. So this
that there is a number.
That one's number 1. Josh is working on monster cards. So we're working on 9 different monster cards that make a scene on the back. So
nice, like a whole big image that connects together. And
yeah.
You guys have everything planned out. It's really amazing how much you guys have planned out.
Oh, thank you. We've been spending a lot of time on it.
I think that Stanley never gives himself enough credit. The main reason that the team is together and that we have all of this, it's because Stanley pushed it. If I could compare Stanley to an item, he'd be like a giant magnet. He finds people that have passion, or maybe sometimes he finds people that don't know they have passion, and he lights a fire inside of them with the projects that we do. And he's really brought together a large group of people that from like all kinds of places and like backgrounds to come together to do this project. And it's one of the reasons that it's really easy for me to stay with it and to work really hard on it, is because Stanley just provides the pushing power for it. Basically, he provides the drive and motivation to work for things.
He makes people do the work, but not only do the work, but they have the passion to do it even better.
Yeah, he gets people to not only do the work, but to enjoy it. And if our team members didn't enjoy what they were doing, we wouldn't have a team.
That's
like
true.
There's not much else to motivate them because of how small we are now.
Yeah.
Except Stanley.
Actually, when I first did research on you guys, I thought you were pretty big. Like,
oh, really?
based on the social media that you had out there, it's like, wow, you guys are selling T-shirts. Like, you guys been doing it for a while. and then the website has apparel and all this. It was pretty impressive.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was all me.
That was Cassie. Cassie's we gotta pretend like we're big now, and then we'll start
it was
growing.
like a year ago. My mom has been doing marketing like for years, and that's one of the things is she's like, if you push content and you fake that you're big, like if you pretend that
fake it till you make it.
If you pretend that you have an audience, the audience will come. And so I worked really hard on making sure we were established before we really started pushing books. also so that we would feel like a more legitimate company and less scammy. Because if we just kind of
hey, buy our
page up,
books, you know.
Yeah.
book one day, it looks sketchy, especially now with how many scams are existing. So
yeah, we just
I
try
worked
to
really
be
hard on
genuine. That's our big thing, is trying to like enjoy it and be genuine about it and not be afraid to put that hard work in.
Honest people.
We try.
Well, we do our best. Thanks again for coming on and all the work you've done.
Oh yeah, thank you for having me on. Yeah, I look forward to working with you again.
This has been the Bleakheaven podcast. We'll see you next time.